What's good, you guys? Daniel Cruz here, back with another episode of Cook with Cruz. Today we're going to be breaking down another beat that was requested, and that beat was called Have You Been? This beat also has a hook, so I'll be talking about kind of my thought process on structuring the beat around the hook. So yeah, this beat definitely came out pretty dope, especially with the hook, so we'll be diving into that today. As always, before we jump into the video, if you could please leave a thumbs up on the video, I'd greatly appreciate it. Also subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss these videos every single Sunday. And keep feeding me comments on which beats you want to see me break down next. I've been writing all the ones down that you guys have been leaving comments for, so I definitely appreciate you guys for that. And without further ado, let's jump in and see how I put together Have You Been? Okay, so jumping right into the beat, started off with a sample. Sample was made and put together by Dylan Graham, so shout out Dylan for the sample. Let's go ahead and start off playing the raw file for you so you can hear what I hear when I first came across it. So sample is pretty fire. If you've watched most of my videos on the series, you probably already know I like that chord progression. I already know pretty much how it's played, and I don't know, I just work well with those progressions, so this was something I can definitely work with. So I did have the files to the sample. So if we look into the playlist here, it's probably gonna look complicated, but all this is pretty much the sample. So if we consolidate it, it'll probably empty it out a little bit more. But for the more heavy layered samples, I do like to have the files to kind of break it down in certain parts. It definitely helps with structuring the beat out, but it otherwise isn't too complicated here. So as far as what I did to the sample, I didn't really do much. I kept it in the same key because I liked the tonality of it. Only thing I did was speed it up a little bit. So as I mentioned before, having the files allows me to really kind of break everything down so I can structure it how I want. So as we can see here in the intro, I really just broke it down to the guitar and some background chords here. And then after that, we're gonna pretty much drop into the hook, pre-hook section of the beat now. Now, when I first made the beat, I had originally structured it to where the verse came in first, but we later added a hook to it. So when you have beats with hooks, I think it's super important that you have the hook come first. So I kind of restructured the beat around the hook. In this first section right here, this is gonna be pretty much the pre-hook part. So we bring in the bass, keep the keys, couple percussive loops here that were in the sample, and this is the vocal sample that was in the sample. And what I did with the vocal sample here, I put Little Altar Boy onto it. It kind of changed the timbre, the tonality of it a bit. And again, for this clip here, I had to be really careful with it because it's a vocal sample and I don't want it to interfere with the vocals on the hook. So just bringing the levels down on it, and that Little Altar Boy helped me kind of filter it down a bit so it's not overpowering the vocals on the hook. But either way, let me go ahead and play this pre-hook section of the beat here. And this is the same sample we're working with. I'm just kind of breaking down all the instruments. Oh, but real quick before I play it, almost forgot. If you can see the guitar here, I cut out certain sections of it to really open up the pre-hook here. This will be pretty common for me to do during the verse too, especially on R&B tracks. I'm really big on having, you know, stuff open for the vocalist. So basically how I cut it, we're just gonna do like 2 quick strums, then cut, another strum, then cut. So I'll play it here for you. And now all together. So that's what we have so far. And I do layer up here with some piano. All I'm gonna do really is just layer up the chords. Of course, for our piano, we're going to be in Keyscape with the cinematic preset. In our mixer, I'm just adding a little bit of reverb here. So this is what our piano is gonna sound like. So there goes our piano. And now for some drums, I'm just gonna add a closed tat here to kind of build some tension up to the hook. So this is obviously a really simple closed tat pattern. So I'm just gonna have that play with everything for the pre-hook. And one last thing that I do for the pre-hook and the intro. On our guitar track specifically, we have Fruity Love filter. I'll go ahead and turn it back on now. Basically, just put a low pass filter on the guitar, automated it, which is this clip right here. This is going to allow a lot of EQ space for the vocals on the pre-hook here. It's also going to settle everything out. So let me run it back now so we can hear it with the filter on. So right there, you could probably anticipate this is where the drop is going to come in. So that's going to be this section of the beat right here. This is the big part of the hook. As you can see, we extend our guitar back out. We're going to add a few more instruments from the sample in here. We're going to keep our piano, but these chords are just an octave lower from what we just played. So just for reference, this is what it sounds like. So let's go ahead and play just the instruments of this part now so we can get an idea of what it sounds like. So now all we have to do now is throw in our drums. So we'll start going over that now. We'll go ahead and start top to bottom. So we'll start with our kick. Here's our closed tap pattern. Our clap. Open hat. We have a shaker here. Here's our 808. It's going to bring everything together. Also have a snap here. Here's another closed tap pattern. It's pretty much the same as the one I played. I just thinned it out in a couple other parts, and this one is going to play specifically during the verse. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same thing we just played. And then if we jump into the playlist, I do have this kind of live hat pattern here that I throw in. And that will wrap up all the drums. So let's go ahead and play them all together so we can hear what we're working with. So there's our drums. Let's throw on our instruments and hear what we're working with now. So there goes the hook of the beat. Let's go ahead and break down the actual hook now. So I have all the hook files right here. Just a quick note as well, these vocals are pre-mixed, so all I really had to do was kind of adjust levels if needed. But I did have the hook files so I can restructure the beat better so we can have the hook coming first and then go into the verse. Let's run it back to the intro now, and then of course the pre-hook hook, so we can all together hear how everything sounds now.
Just because my hair, just because my skin, just because the kind of whip that I be driving in. Maybe it's my face, this ain't even fair. And I swear to God, this ain't no way to be living. Tell me, have you been? Have you been? Tell me, have you ever been? I don't think you've been. Have you been?
So there goes the hook all together now, which is pretty much, you know, the entire idea of the beat. From here on out, we're just gonna break everything down, structure it out to build a verse. I don't do any more additions to the beat, so we're just gonna chop everything up. So as you can see here, this will be first 4 bars of the verse. We go back to chopping up the guitar to open it up, thinned out a lot of instruments, thinned out some drums. Then we'll kind of start progressively adding stuff in as the verse goes on. As you can see here, more drums. And then back into the pre-hook. We have the bass, same thing as we had before. Our low pass filter turns back on to thin everything out. Then the big hook again. So we'll hear how it transitions now from hook to verse.
I don't think you've been. Have you been?
So there it goes right there, the whole beat for Have You Been, with the hook included. If this is your first time hearing the beat, let me know what you think of the beat in the comments. And if you made it to the end of this video, I appreciate you sticking around with me. Please leave a thumbs up and a comment. I would greatly appreciate it. Definitely helps out the series here. Also, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. Really helps with the series here. So I appreciate you guys that do so. As always, fill me in with some beats or songs that you want to see broken down that I have not done so already. I'll definitely add that to my list and get to that and make an episode on it. But otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. I will see you next Sunday. I'm out. Peace.
I don't think you've been. Have you been?